Hello friends, welcome to Neela Studio. In today's video, I'm going to show you how I'm going to draft the pattern on a bigger chart for Princess Dot Kameez. I have taken half across shoulder and also reduced about half an inch more because the neck depth is slightly deeper at the back and in the front. I have marked the depth of armhole line by calculating chest by 4 and minus 1, which comes to 8 inches. I'm going to calculate the chest round. Chest round is always on the depth of armhole line. So chest 36 divided by 4, and I'm going to add 1 inch more. So I'm going to mark it here, which is 9 plus 1. So I will get 10. So I'm marking 10 here. Plus 1 more inch I'm adding for seam allowance. Now I'm keeping the tape on top and measuring the depth of your waist. That is 15 inches. So I'm marking here. You draw a line on that depth of waistline. Now let's mark the hip point. Hip is normally from waist 7 inch down. So I'm going to mark here 7 inch down. I will take the measurement tape, measure it and then mark it here. Now draw a line for the hip curve. Now divide the hip measurement by 4. That is 38 inches divided by 4. I'm getting 9.5 plus 1 inch, and then I'm going to add it. Plus another 1 inch for seam allowance. I'll mark it here now. Now let us mark the waist. For the waist, actually we have to divide by 4 plus 1.5, which is actually going to be for the darts which we'll be having for this kameez, plus 1 more inch for the seam allowance. Now let us mark the neck width. Neck width will be your chest measurement divided by 12. That is 36 divided by 12. I will get 3 inches. So I'm going to mark 3 inches here. Now I'm marking the back neck depth. So I'm back neck depth I'm marking for 3 inches from below the seam allowance. Next I'm going to mark the front neck depth. So from the top I'm going to mark it like this for the front neck depth here. Draw a line on the front neck depth point and also for the back neck depth point like this, and then a straight line from the neck width point above down straight like this here, and then take the French curve scale and shape the front neck curve and the back neck curve like this. Let's mark 3/4 inch down from across shoulder for the shoulder slope. Now connect the neck width point to the shoulder slope point. I'm just darkening the back neck curve and front neck curve with the dark ink pen. Now draw the armhole depth line from shoulder slope point till your chest line. Now use the French curve scale and shape the back armhole curve. Now let's mark the front armhole curve. For front armhole curve, take the midpoint of the armhole depth line and then from there you take 3/4 inch inside, and then you keep the French curve and draw the front armhole curve. Now let us mark the bust point. Bust point is measured from top down 10 inches below, and then from the center front you have to mark 3.5 for apex to apex point, and then this will be your bust point. So this is your bust point. Now let us mark the dart width on the waistline. So for that we need to calculate your chest measurement divided by 12, which is 3 inches, plus another half an inch, 3.5, and then you mark here. So this point will be for your dart center point. So then you take half an inch on either side, and then you draw 3-inch straight line above and 4-inch straight line below for the dart length. Then you connect both the half an inch on either side, which we have marked, and make a dart shape. Next, we'll draw the princess line from the armhole to meet the dart top point first. First, you draw with a pencil by hand to get a nice curve like this. Then you use the French curve to shape the princess dart curve properly like this. Now connect the chest end point to waist end point, and then to hip end point with a straight line like this. Then leave a margin of 1 inch on the side for side seam, and then draw another line. Now draw a straight line on the full length of the kameez which we have drawn, including the seam allowance, and then mark 5.5 inch for the width of the center front panel below, and connect that from the dart end point on top till down like this. This will be your center panel of the kameez. Next, extend the hip point till the lower line which we have drawn for the side length. Then shape it at the bottom with using a French curve like this, so that the kameez will have a nice curve. Then extend the side seam allowance too. Now from the lower point of the dart point here, draw a straight line down till the center front ends. So this actually will be the gadet. This triangle piece will be the gadet. We will cut this gadet and use it when we are tracing the pattern on the fabric for both, for the center panel and also for the side panel. This dot I am shading now will be cut out and removed. Actually, you have to use 2 charts to make this pattern, one below the other. So I'm actually stapling it so that they don't move when I'm going to cut. Since I have used 2 chart paper for the pattern, for the back and front separately, I'm cutting out the back neck curve first, and then the back armhole first, and then I will cut out the front separately and back separately. Now keep the gadet piece aside. Let us cut the center front panel first. Now keep the back center panel separately, which is below. Then cut out the front center panel for the armhole curve and also for the front neck curve. Now cut out the dot for the center panel and the back panel which we have drawn. Cut it out and remove it. Now cut out the front armhole curve on the top sheet like this. The back side seam part is shorter because I've used only one chart on the top, so that to save the paper. So for the back side seam curve, I'm just trimming out little bit so that it doesn't have too much of bulkiness at the back. Now I'm cutting out the center front neck curve. This is the back part of the Kameez pattern. It is short because I have not used double chart for the length. So the length can be extended by using the front pattern. Place the Gadet triangle piece when taking out the pattern on the fabric for the side panel and also when cutting out the center front panel. See, once you cut out the pattern like this, see, this is the center panel, this is the side panel. Then what you will do is you will have to cut out the Gadet separately. You will have to cut out this. You'll have to cut out the Gadet separately. So you will have three pieces like this: side panel, center front panel. You'll have to use this Gadet for the center panel and also for the side panel. So you'll have to keep like this. And then you have to trace it out for the center panel. Keep like this. Leave seam allowance here and then cut it out. Then again you have to keep this Gadet here. Okay. And then trace it out like this and then cut out the side panel. Hope this is clear. So you'll have to leave the seam allowance only here. I hope this is clear. I'm showing you in a shorter, smaller version so that you can see the whole thing in one image. When you're stitching, you will be stitching like this. In my next video, I will show you how to cut the pattern on the fabric and stitch it and finish it. So when you're stitching, you will be stitching like this. So you will have too much of nice gathers like anarkali. Okay.